Welcome to the award-winning Superhuman Academy podcast, where we interview extraordinary people to give you the skills and strategies to overcome the impossible. And now, here's your host, Jonathan Levy.
This episode is brought to you by Blue Blocks. Blue and green light is destroying our sleep, hormones, and performance, and that's why it's important to wear blue light blocking glasses. But did you know that all blue light glasses aren't created equal? I personally have started wearing Blue Blocks blue light blocking glasses, as they are the only blue light blocking company in the world that create evidence-backed lenses for filtering blue and green light. Their Australian lab-built lens technology is fitted into the most fashionable frames, and they even can make prescription and reading glasses in their optics lab. Whether it's their Sleep Plus glasses that block 100% of blue and green light, their Summer Glow mood booster glasses, or their blue light computer glasses, Blue Blocks has you covered. I wear my Sleep Plus glasses 2 to 3 hours before bed, and my sleep has never been better, and I feel so well rested. The daytime ones are also great at reducing digital eye strain, headaches, and lowering stress. With free and fast worldwide shipping using code SUPERHUMAN at checkout, now is an amazing time to level up your sleep and eye health. Just go to blueblocks.com, that's BLUBLOX.com, and enter code SUPERHUMAN to save 15%. Greetings, Super Friends, and welcome to this week's episode of the Superhuman Academy podcast. Today, I am joined by Dr. Marc Schneider and Justin, wait for it, this is a tough one, Roethlingshoefer. I think I got that one right, Justin. I'm sorry if I didn't. These two gentlemen, one is an athlete, one is a doctor and surgeon, and together they are the authors of a new book on the athletic blueprint. Now, this is a wide-ranging conversation. We kind of went all over the place because these gentlemen both have very, very different experience. One was a professional athlete in the NHL. Another one actually runs a sports nutrition company. And in general, they're both very, very preoccupied with human performance. So we talked a lot about what that means, what that looks like, what are the ways that you can reach peak athletic performance, and also I took the opportunity to ask a former professional athlete about mindset and how you actually train that mental tenacity to show up and bust your butt every day. Personally, that was my favorite part of the episode, and so stick around all the way to the end because it gets juicy. So without any further ado, Dr. Marc Schneider and Justin Roethlingshoefer. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you both doing?
Doing great, Jonathan. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, doing awesome, Jonathan. Thank you.
Really excited to learn today about some new and novel ideas for athletic performance. It amazes me that even after 170-something episodes, I'm still learning, and there are still all kinds of things that we have yet to cover and expose on how people can get the best out of their bodies.
Yeah, it was something that Doc and I started chatting about probably a couple years ago, and my background coming from professional sports, both as a player and as a coach, brought me actually through Louisville. I was graduate assistant at the University of Louisville, program at Miami University for 3 years, and then with the Anaheim Ducks organization for another 2.5 years as well. So that's kind of where Doc and I met, and we started chatting a lot about the way that athletic performance was occurring, and a lot of the questions that were continually asked from ages of 14 all the way through Doc experience of like 35, 40, because he's the old man. He just got a hip replacement. So, but as we started to get these questions of, hey, how do you train for to be a quarterback athlete or more of a triathlete or whatever it may be, these people started to completely act in different ways than than the results they were actually looking for. So we were like, why don't we change the way that a lot of the information is put forth? Because as you and I know, I mean, we're in a world where information is at your fingertips everywhere. If you literally want to do anything in the world, you could look it up on YouTube and there's a video on how to do it. So it's not that we have a space in which the information isn't available. We're in an issue where the way that the information is being delivered maybe isn't as effective as possible. And that's kind of where Doc and I took that.
Fantastic. And so you were in the NHL, very hard sport on the body, and really kind of like came up through that experience, and that brought you into this fascination with human performance. I'd love to hear from Dr. Schneider. What brought you down this path? To trace for us a little bit of your career trajectory.
Sure. Well, I never was anything close athletically to what Justin has accomplished. As a matter of fact, I think it was burpees in high school football, which made me decide to go to medical school. So what actually started it all was my children. So my kids started playing competitive ice hockey. And as most parents, you always want the best for your children. And living in Florida, there wasn't a lot of expertise. So I started looking at what can I do to make them perform better. Everything, that I found, and, at that time it was internet search based, was completely opposite to what their coaches were doing with them. So I started investigating it more. I started a sports supplement company because I was really dissatisfied with what companies were doing out there, not really putting ingredients in the products. And that's sort of how I met Justin, and we started a discussion about this dichotomy that coaches are doing, for the most part, up until an elite level, they're doing a sort of old school training that they may have heard about. They don't really have a strong background in it. And they're, not necessarily offering kids the best way to development. And that was really the nexus for putting together the book. I tried to put together all the scientifically based information, and Justin put together what we actually utilize in athletes to train them. So we thought it was a good combo.
Really cool. And you are originally trained as a surgeon, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. And I still am in my practice daily. But have utilized everything that we've learned in putting the book together to help my patients who are primarily interested in getting better, healthier, more fit, and looking better.
Mm-hmm. Now, you touch on something that's near and dear to my heart, which is supplements and supplementation and performance nutrition. And especially you touched on, there's a lot of junk out there. And we've done a few different episodes on who do you trust and how do you trust. But I take a lot of different supplements. I work with a naturopath and a functional medicine doctor and I always love to pick brains. I mean, I know obviously you have a supplement company. What are some of the things people need to be aware of? What are some of the supplements that are often sold in really low quality? What are some of the ingredients people need to be aware of? I mean, from your perspective, what were the things that you were seeing that were cause enough to say, hey, I can do this better?
Well, interestingly enough, when I was working with my kids in training, I was training with them at the same time. And almost everything we did athletically, be it plyometrics or Olympic lifting, tried to get explosive lifts, improved not only their performance, but made me stronger and fitter. The only thing that never made a difference at all was the supplements that we were buying at the local supplement store, and I didn't understand why. I was lucky enough to meet the owner of this supplement company, and he asked me to formulate some formulations that would actually help specific health conditions. And when I received the products, they didn't work at all like we intended. So we had them tested. And lo and behold, they contained none of the ingredients that we put together. We ended up actually filing suit against the company because of it. But it made me realize that, maybe this is a problem. So I visited some other major manufacturers and, I told them what I was interested in doing. And what they told me was, well, if you do something like that, it's going to be very expensive. You won't make the margins, and that's not how how companies are run. Companies typically sprinkle in some ingredients so that they have the name on the label, but they're not necessarily putting in everything. So, I assumed that, if I just do everything correctly the way I would do it in medicine, my company should take off. Well, it's been a much harder trek than that.
It always is.
But as such, our goal has been, for 99% of the people who are out there, if you eat right, you're going to be just fine without a supplement. And so the whole basis of our company was to devise products that will give you something that you cannot get from your normal food if you're a competitive athlete or want to be stronger, fitter, etc. And so our company offerings are, we've got 6 or 7 products. They all specifically do something that you can't get from food. And as such, we've got a nice following building from, top level athletes.
Very cool. And yeah, I definitely agree with you there and I love that your first line is nutrition, right? Because if you're using supplementation to replace or try to compensate for a crappy diet, you're in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
So I do want to ask, tell me, this new book, right, is all about new ideas for geeking out more athletic performance. Tell me about the journey of writing this book, of the research that went into it, and what you found.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we kind of went along this road, we started to find that there was this odd dichotomy of mixture between a typical body breakdown, or taking a look at the body types of different types of athletes, and ultimately what they had to do on the field or the court or their area of play. And what I mean by that is this, is quite often you'd have somebody say they were a shot putter. And I started to notice this a lot in college, because growing up in Canada, hockey was, again, my sport, and would bounce around between hockey and lacrosse and baseball. And that was just something that you did because the typical sports that you played, you were just athletically gifted to play all of them typically. And when I got to college, all of a sudden I started to see that the high-end running backs would also run 100 meters in track. Your offensive linemen sometimes would be throwers or some type of anaerobic power track athlete. And then you never saw, and then your long distance runners would do your cross country and would sometimes cross over and have them train with the soccer team. And so all of a sudden I was like, wow, is it that we're predisposed to be successful in certain sports? And Doc and I broke it down in basically what's called an athlete spectrum. And we took a look at the far left spectrum, which is very aerobic athletes, and then the far right, which is very anaerobic, and understanding that the two ends of the spectrum are very easy to train. They're very easy to identify. They all look a certain way. They have a certain somatotype, a certain body frame type. And all of a sudden, those ones in the middle is where it becomes very confusing and conflicted. And it becomes hard to train them to optimize what it is that they're looking to do. And so by breaking it down this way, we wanted to be able to help people as they were coming up through sport and trying to determine, hey, I'm a 5'6" lean individual. Do you think trying to be a wide receiver in football is a good idea? Do you think trying to be a point guard in the NBA or get a basketball scholarship is the right place for me to be putting my training attributes, and is that going to be the best route for me? And then conversely, where you have somebody who's maybe had an athletic career, they're a little bit older, and they're heading into another challenge that they want to do, and they might be 25, 30, 35 years old, and they're like, hey, I want to be more like a shot putter. How can I train more like a shot putter? And so we broke those areas down and gave actual anaerobic conditioning, aerobic conditioning, strength and power and flexibility training elements for each zone. And we broke them into, 6 zones, being red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So all the way from left to right. And red being your endurance and aerobic athletes, such as your marathoners, your triathletes, your long distance rowers, and then going into your orange, which are like your field hockey, your soccer players, your rugby backfielders. And then working to the right, we got your yellow zone, which is typically the hardest ones to train, kind of equal aerobic and anaerobic and strength balanced athletes, such as your quarterbacks, your pitchers, tennis players. And then you start to deem more to the right side, which is more focus on that anaerobic strength and flexibility area, which is more your sprinters, your halfbacks, your MMA fighters, getting a little bit closer there. And then your blue zone, which is a heavy emphasis on strength and power, which is your football bigs and your rugby scrum players. And lastly, you get that far right of the spectrum, and it's your sole strength and power, which is your Olympic lifters, your shot putters, your strongman athletes. So that's kind of how we broke it down, and made it very easy to understand and very practical. You can immediately have some takeaways that will help you garner these changes or facilitate a program that will help you obtain the changes and adaptations you're looking for.
So if I understand correctly, the idea is that you have this profile of your body, this blueprint, and based on that, you know not only what type of training you need to do, but also what type of athletics you will excel at, and specifically even what position within a given sport you'll be able
100%. And again, there's outliers to everything, right? It's not saying that because you're Darren Sproles that Darren Sproles doesn't have a great football career. But on the norm, there may be other ways in order to succeed athletically or succeed in sport based upon your somatotype and what you're predisposed to. So absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I would love if we could translate this into kind of a practical takeaway for folks listening in the audience. I mean, what are some of the things that they should be thinking about? Is this, where the rubber meets the road for the everyday person as opposed to a professional athlete? Is this kind of telling people they should do Pilates and not CrossFit, or why would everyday people read this book?
Yeah, so I think in my mind where all this started was my kids were playing ice hockey. It's a sprinting sport, and their coaches were having them run 3 and 4 miles for warm up on off ice training days, which really brings in your slow twitch fibers, your aerobic conditioning, but doesn't do anything for your anaerobic or on ice performance. So I think the basic breakdown for the average person who's reading this is it allows you to define your goals, be it you want to get into CrossFit or you're interested in doing men's soccer, you're 30 years old and you have a day job. And there's obviously going to be some zones of training that are going to enhance what you're trying to do better than perhaps the standard that you're learning from basic bro gym knowledge.
Very cool. Very cool. So what other, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't ask, what are some of the other things that you found both, on the field, or I should say, in the rink and in the clinic, in medical school? I mean, throughout your vast experience, what are some of the unconventional things that you have found to improve athletic performance?
Yeah. So, from a medical standpoint, I think what I commonly see in patients who are, pretty much our everyday Joes who are just looking to get healthier, fitter, is that they're not really utilizing nutrition to their benefit. I'm actually shocked at how little people understand nutrition and where it should fit into their lifestyle. Classically, I'll talk to female patients who are saying, "Yeah, no, all I eat is salads," and I say to them, "Well, what do you put on your salad?" "Oh, a bottle of salad dressing." And so they don't really understand that everything they're putting into their mouth really affects what they're doing and their goals, whether it be losing body fat or gaining lean muscle mass. So for me, it's been very, very interesting taking the principles that we've created with this and trying to put it into everyday people's ideas.
Fantastic. And did you want to add anything to that, Justin, that you've seen that in all your years working with athletes and athletics?
Absolutely. So I think that's kind of what's led me to my next career here, which I really dove into about a year and a half ago, was starting a company called Own It, which is really based around helping high performers and people master their health, wealth, and relationships. And what I mean by that is taking your everyday habits. And it's not just what you do in the gym. It's not just like what Doc spoke about and what you put into your body nutritionally, but typically the people who are at the top of their game, after seeing guys at the NBA level, the NFL level, the NHL level, is all of their habits, their actions in every aspect of their life, whether it's how they interact with their wife, whether it's how they interact with their kids, their significant others, their family members, how they dress, how they, the level of faith and everything else that they have, everything is in alignment. And the habits and the focus of attaining excellence in every aspect of their life, it's high performance living. It's not just high performance in the gym, high performance eating, high performance X, Y, or Z. It's all encompassing. And I think that's the biggest thing that I have seen from your top end athletes, or even your top end executive athletes, if you want to call them that. That's really something that I've taken away and kind of put my focus towards going forward.
All right, let's take a quick pause because I want to let you know about a product that I have been really enjoying recently, and that is Ambro Greens by Ambronite, their latest product, which makes it easy to get all of your nutritional bases covered with just 1 teaspoon in cold water. You literally can't make it any easier, and along the way, you will improve your digestion and gut health, put an end to cravings and weight gain, boost your immunity, and I've noticed that you'll get a lot more energy out of your day with all of the amazing nutrients, vitamins, antioxidants, etc., etc. So I partnered with Ambronite to give you an amazing opportunity to try their product out for just $9.90. All you need to do is visit ambronite.com/superhuman. That's AMBRONITE.com/superhuman. All right, let's get back to the episode. Now, I do want to touch a little bit on mental toughness because it is in the subtitle of your book, and I think it is. Anytime you'll notice if you go back in past episodes, anytime I have professional athlete, ultra marathoner, someone who's really put their body through the ringer, not in a bad way, but in a a way that requires a lot of tenacity, I always love to ask, and you've written a book partly on this subject. So tell me a little bit about mental toughness and how you can develop that, or can you develop that in order to then push your performance?
So here's what's amazing is 95% of our actions are developed through our subconscious mind, and the psychological loop that occurs is our beliefs shape our thoughts. Those thoughts develop and elicit certain emotions within our body, and those emotions lead to actions, and those actions create results, which in turn feed back to either engaging in a positive or negative belief that are then developed further within us. And if we can change or elicit a different emotional response, our subconscious mind is developed two ways. One, extreme practice, like over and over and over again. You go and do something on the major repeat, then you're going to help develop a emotional attachment to that. Or you have a major emotional reaction to a certain situation. And those are the two ways that the subconscious mind are created. So when people say, you go to the gym and you're, I got to go to the gym again today, or, I got to go to see the doctor today, or whatever it is, that emotional attachment, that emotional reaction is going to create a physical reaction. So if we can, which we do, have control of our emotions and elicit positive emotions to things that we are doing, we are going to have positive action, physical actions, which will yield different results, and thus change the belief that we have and reprogram our subconscious mind. So I think a lot of people just chalk it up to, it's so hard to be mentally tough. It's so hard to change the way I think. When in actuality, if you're really focused and dialed in to yourself and very self-aware as to how you're feeling emotionally to different things or throughout your day, and being very present, it's actually very easy to become mentally tough and focused on these certain things. And it's a choice. And that's what I always tell my clients. That's what I work with all of through the programming that I do with whether you're a professional athlete or whether you're an executive athlete. It's changing your habits and changing your emotions to everything that happens throughout your day and making you more present. And by doing that, you all of a sudden can change the course of your life and change the course of the outcomes.
That's really cool. And it reminds me, I heard Joe DeSena of Spartan Races speak in November at the Genius Network annual event. And I asked him a similar question around, like, how can we as teachers and trainers cultivate tenacity of mind? Because, it's very easy to sell a book. It's very hard to get your reader to actually read the book and implement everything it teaches. And he kind of had a similar message, which was, people need to practice doing hard things. It's like, once you run your first marathon, the next one is not hard. I mean, mentally not hard. It's physically, I'm sure, very hard. But it's like that tenacity of spirit is something that needs to be trained. You can't just expect it to develop without doing the work.
No, you're exactly right. And this is what's so unique about what you just said is I do this with a lot of my clients as well, and talk about discipline. And they all know, I know what discipline is. I know how we can make it better. But on a typical day, they are late for work. They'll hit snooze on their alarm. They will cancel date nights with their significant other. And I said to them, I was like, so if you're not executing discipline on all these small things throughout your day, what you're actually teaching yourself and letting yourself off the hook for is that, I don't need to be disciplined. It's okay for me to fall short on these certain things. So all of a sudden, these small little programs that go on in the head, it's okay to let yourself off the hook. It's okay not to finish this workout. It's okay just to give 60% today because I'm tired. you're allowing yourself off the hook in these small things where all of a sudden you need to tap into this discipline. You need to tap into really leveling up, and you can't do it because you haven't practiced it. And with my clients, we go right to these small things where, hey, you're not allowed to hit snooze, and there's going to be some type of accountability and discipline to not doing that. You're going to do your 5-minute gratitude journaling every single morning. Why? Because that's a discipline that you want to have. One of my clients did a dry January. Well, just sticking to a dry January, it doesn't mean that you have that alcohol is a bad thing, but it's the fact that you're able to tell yourself, I can do this, and you get through it. And it's these little things. We did cold showers for a week straight. Well, all of a sudden, something that was so difficult on day one, a couple people have continued them through week 3 now. And it's these little things of teaching yourself these high performance habits, the discipline, the vulnerability, the structure, the authenticity, all these little areas that you would have let yourself off the hook before, but taking one and focusing in on it and really diving in, it all of a sudden changes your mind frame and changes your stance to be able to implement it when it actually comes game time.
Yeah, I think that's really, really valuable. And we can talk all day till we're blue in the face about how important fitness is, how important nutrition is, this is the base of everything, right? Is if you can't listen and actually do the things that we're talking about every single week on this show, it's the medicine only works if you take it, and you only take it if you have the tenacity of will to stick through it. And by no means am I perfect, right? I hit snooze like everybody else. I struggle with it. I give myself days off in the gym when, I feel sore, and I probably shouldn't. But it is cultivating. I think James Clear says it best, right? Every decision you make is a vote for the kind of person you want to be. And it becomes this reinforcing mechanism.
Jonathan, everything in the human body works in steps. So the brain, which is only about 2% of your body weight, uses 20% of your body's energy on a daily basis. And if you're going to train your body, the brain works the exact same way. And it also has to be done in steps. You're not going to become a superstar with your brain overnight. So you have to take these small steps that Justin is doing with his clients and really start to build on it. And what you see in top athletes is they've done that their entire life. Just like someone who's trying to motivate themselves on January 2 to start going to the gym. Day one in the gym, you're not going to be doing a 1-hour workout like an Olympic athlete. It has to be done in steps if it's really going to be positively reinforced. And that's really the key to growth overall as a human.
Absolutely. I would love if we put our heads together and came up with some homework for people for this episode in general, and maybe multiple pieces of homework, because we may want to do something around athletic performance. We may want to do something around mental tenacity. But what would you like to assign for homework while people wait for next week's episode?
Yeah, the big thing is doing it. And again, writing things down and changing your mindset first thing in the morning. I have 5 things in the gratitude journal that I have people focus on every morning, and that's writing down and changing the mindset, which is what are you grateful for? What are you looking forward to? What can't you change? Who can you thank today? And who can you encourage? So those 5 things tap into different subconscious levels of the mind and put us in a different state moving forward and allow us to become present. And I've got it down, it takes me about a minute and a half to do that every morning. And again, it's the discipline to sit down and do it, to write it out, to say it out loud, and to, again, make it real for your body and your mind, rather than just I'll think about it throughout the day as I go through, because you never will. You have about 500 thoughts a day, or 500,000 thoughts a day. And what's crazy about that is 98% of them are the same thought on repeat. Well, if they're negative,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think we're going to think about? It's going to put us in a negative state of mind. If we can start to drive them into a positive nature, those positive thoughts that are continually on repeat are going to, again, elicit more positive emotions, which are going to help us act in a positive way, which are going to give us more positive outcomes.
Yeah. Doc, anything you would want to add to the homework assignment for this week?
I really haven't thought necessarily in regards to homework, but I will tell you what I have my patients do when they're looking to make a transformation either in their bodies or prior to a surgery. And that's basically to write down every single thing that they're going to be doing in order to make their recovery better. Be it their nutrition or their sleep or how much sleep they're trying to get, their exercise going into it. It's so easy for people to fall back into bad habits. And in my patient population, they're spending a large amount of money for a large transformation in their bodies. Sometimes it's as a reward. Sometimes it's as motivation to make a change. So really the key for patient satisfaction is changing their whole mind state, as opposed to me, putting a magic scalpel on them and transforming them.
Really cool. And I guess I want to add one, which is I would love for folks in the audience to pick one thing that sucks, but is good for them and do it. Like something that's just not fun. Whether you mentioned cold showers, Justin, this week I had a workout, which was 100 weighted squats. I still am walking like a penguin, but pick one thing that sucks, but is really good for you and do it this week as a result of the inspiration in this episode. So, gentlemen, we have pretty much come up on time here. I do want to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about where people can reach you and learn more and maybe check out the new book.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book's available on Amazon and just the Athletic Performance Blueprint. And you can reach me at through Instagram at Justin Roth, Justin Roeth, or email at Justin at justinroethlingshoefer.com. It's a mouthful, but I'm sure you'll have it on some type of notes or something after.
Yeah, we'll put that in the podcast show notes, and we will easily get over the minimum requirement for SEO just with the last name there.
Yeah, that's funny. Best way to reach out to us is through our website, diazyme.com. It's shorter than Roethlingshoefer, but sometimes harder to spell. It's DIOXYME. It's diazyme.com. The book will eventually be up on Diazyme as well as a downloadable or PDF format. And so best way to reach out to me is mark at diazyme.com.
Awesome. And gentlemen, before I let you go, one thing I always ask at the end of every episode is if people take away one big message from this episode and they carry it with them for the rest of their lives, what would you hope for that to be?
Definitely don't put yourself in a box. Allow yourself a glass ceiling. And what I mean by that is whatever those beliefs are, it's things that we have come to learn over a period of time. Challenge yourself outside of those because we are greater than anything that we could ever imagine. And the only thing holding us back is that box that we create for ourselves.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Jonathan, thank you for having us.
Thank you, Jonathan. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the award-winning Superhuman Academy podcast. For more great skills and strategies, or for links to any of the resources mentioned in this episode, visit superhuman.blog. While you're at it, please take a moment to share this episode with a friend and leave us a review on iTunes. We'll see you next week.